Hi, I'm Dwayne Parker, and I serve as the Director of Discipleship and Sunday School. You're listening to a Mississippi Baptist Convention Board production.
All right, thanks for listening today as you round out the month of December and the year of 2024. We're so glad to be here with you at the Mississippi Baptist Around the Table podcast. I am Tanner Cade, Communications Director, alongside Jon Martin, Chief Strategy Officer.
Yep, glad to be here. I didn't know that was my cue.
And John.
And,
who do we have at the table?
Yeah. We have Ken Hall with us today. Ken, you're inching up there as the most podcast recordings of one person. You've been on several.
I think it's because Neil and Amanda Tullis have been trying to have been giving good feedback and say that I'm the most fun.
There you go. We got Ken with us today because Ken is retiring at the end of January, and so we thought it'd be a good idea just to sit down and have a conversation with him about Mississippi Baptist life and all things student ministry involved in Mississippi Baptist life. But before we do that, Tanner's got some announcements.
Yeah, we used to say, let's look at some events around the corner. And around the corner to 2025, the first two in January that we're going to talk about are student ministry related. So January 11th is Discern. January 16th is Small Church Youth Ministry Workshops in Crystal Springs. I'm going to pause right here and just let Ken speak to Discern. So January 11th, Discern. How would you describe Discern for folks, Ken?
I would describe Discern as it's just a one-day conference for high school or college students who are sensing a call to vocational ministry.
That's good. And it's a one-day.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
You said just
you delivered it like I asked. Yeah.
Okay, you did. We used to have that as an overnight retreat.
Yeah,
and we just decided to try something different. There's a thought that maybe we can turn this into a regional event. Mm-hmm. We've had great success with it in the past. We have, once again, this is planned by a planning team that has a real concern and heart for students who are being called into ministry. And so we're going to just have this time together to just look at what it means to be called to ministry. How can we discern if God is really calling us? And if so, what do we do with that? Yeah. And so during the day, Neil Tullis, pastor at First Baptist Wiggins, is going to be our main speaker. We're going to have two main sessions. And he's going to look at those biblical examples of people being called and some other things concerning ministry. There's going to be a panel discussion from folks in different areas of ministry. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be, all students will have an opportunity to attend two breakout sessions. Yeah. We'll offer three different ones there, but they're going to be led by different people like Dr. Bo Rice from First Baptist Brandon. Our own Dwayne Parker is going to lead one, and then J.B. Long, youth pastor up in Harrisburg and Tupelo, and Zach DePriest are going to co-lead one together as well. So it's a great opportunity, if nothing else, just to be with other people who may be having the same type of thoughts in their head. And we just want to give them some practical ideas and give them some thoughts to mainly, what do we do with this? One of our breakouts is going to be on, how do you prepare for ministry? Yeah. What is expected? It just goes from there. So it's a great time, and I would encourage anybody to register for that. We are taking registration through the 20th of December. The cost is free. It's from, I think, 10:30 in the morning until about 2:30 in the afternoon. It'll be at Camp Garraway.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's great. Also coming up in early 2025, at the end of January, there's a vision journey to Phoenix. And at the end of February, there's a vision journey to Los Angeles. You can connect with Chad McCord if you want to connect on those vision journeys. State Evangelism Conference happens every year, the end of January 26th, 27th. It'll be at Brandon Baptist Church. And then January 31st starts the Dixie National Rodeo Ministry Evangelism effort. And February 1st is Together for the Nations IMB event at First Baptist Madison. We have a long list of questions, Ken.
Yeah, we do.
We need to start these questions, John. So I don't know. We did not give you these questions ahead of time. Well, I gave you one you can think about, but
and that could be to your detriment.
Yeah.
So, or to our entertainment.
Do you remember what year you started here, Ken?
Yes, it was 2007.
What was happening back in 2007?
What was happening?
What What was life
Who
like
was the
for you
president?
back in 2007? For Ken Hall, what was life like in 2007?
Oh my goodness. Well, I still had 2 kids at home.
Okay.
I had a son who, it was during his junior year we moved him, but then I moved my daughter in the 8th grade. That was a treat.
Yeah.
And so there was just
They both turned out all right.
They turned out all right. And it was just really different for me, just because I was suddenly, you're out of that church staff, which had been our life. And it was
And
different.
you were a worship pastor. Is that right?
I had been that for about 6 years. I had stepped out of youth ministry.
Yeah.
And during that time, I learned what it meant to be a parent of a teenager and what it meant to be that volunteer. And so that's where I got a really appreciation for what it means, how important volunteers are to ministry. But it was an exciting time. Yes.
Yeah. So, many of us were sitting around minding our own business, and somebody from the Baptist building called and said, or a friend of ours called and said, hey, would you consider doing this? Was convention life in 2007, was convention life on your radar?
Absolutely not. I was so shocked when Marcus Pegler called me.
Yeah.
I really thought was not going to would do student ministry other than being a parent or a volunteer. I mean, I was still committed to it, but it totally threw me off guard, and I agreed to talk to him. But after that, I went back, had no thought of coming back or doing anything. But
you were in Tennessee, right?
I was in Tennessee, Brownsville, Tennessee, and loved it. My family loved it. And,
you mentioned something I think is interesting, because I think I've heard Neil say this, that when you guys moved, did y'all join? Y'all moved to Clinton,
right?
You joined
Parkway.
Okay, and Neil was the student pastor.
Neil,
there, right?
Neil was the student pastor.
So you're talking about you had been a student pastor. You were the parent of teenagers, but then Neil tells a story that you show up at church and you're like, "Hey, I'm just here to be a volunteer," right?
Right.
So I think it's interesting, and I'd like to hear how you think that has impacted your ministry, serving as a student ministry, being a parent, and then also just being a volunteer.
Right. The thing I say, don't say just.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I said that.
Yeah.
I will say that I learned more doing that. Learned more about youth ministry, what it means to be the support person for the youth minister.
Yeah.
To be that parent that's available to help when needed. In fact, one time, Neil calls me. It was during D-Now weekend. And I was going to help with recreation. Well, it turns out he got the flu. And for me, just coming up to lead recreation, I ended up just kind of
You're
going.
the man.
I had to kind of go up there and I didn't really know these people that well.
Yeah.
But he had great volunteers. Once again, it went on without a hitch. I just kind of stood around dumbfounded.
Yeah.
But I learned more about that through being a parent and a volunteer. And that's kind of one of the things that I have a passion for. And that was not what I thought I would become. And I thought I would simply be working with youth ministers and then begin to realize that's the heart of youth ministry.
Yeah.
And a lot of our churches don't have youth ministers.
Right. Which goes back to the emphasis of the small church
Correct.
youth ministry workshop.
And like I said, that's probably my favorite thing that we do.
Yeah.
Just the opportunity and encourage parents and volunteers, youth committee folks. So.
Yep.
So this next question is more about your office life. And the question originally started off as, who's your favorite person in your office? But the question we can really get to is, which we know who the favorite persons are, but how much has Tasha and Renee saved you over these years?
Oh my goodness. Tasha came on a little later in life.
Yeah, right.
About midterm, I think.
Midterm.
Renee was there from the beginning. And I will tell you, when I started,
these are the ministry assistants in Discipleship office.
Right. When I started, I had no clue.
Yeah.
And when I came in, I remember my first few days, I walked in my office and I thought, what do I do? I unpacked my office. Renee helped me organize.
Yeah.
And
she's been helping you organize since then.
And I would tell you, for the first 2 years, I was constantly, what do I do next?
Yeah.
How do I do this? And yes, very much. They have got me out of many things. And Tasha, bless her heart, Tasha, Or I'd go in there and I'd say, okay, I've got one. I'm not really sure what to do with this. Who wants this?
Who wants it?
And then they'll take it.
Yeah.
But
What color sheet should this be on? Oh, yeah. So we have a lot of different colors around here.
They
so.
are amazing.
Yeah.
They are amazing. And our youth ministers love them too.
Yeah.
And they have to mother some of them.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
The ones out there who don't know how to turn things in on time.
Yeah. I will say this. I think this is helpful for people to know. We have fun up here.
Oh, we do.
That's right.
I think we have fun up here when we're here, you know.
And our office kind of has a reputation
It
that if you're having a bad day, you just come on down to us.
It's like the train station, right?
It is.
That's right.
Yeah. That's where all the snacks are.
That's where the snacks
All the
are
people gather.
and the interesting people.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I know that part of the joy of serving Mississippi Baptist, honestly, is getting to serve with the people that serve others that serve at Mississippi Baptist. And you've already mentioned that you're focused on volunteers is really important to you. I think I know the answer to this question, but what is your favorite part of the role that you have served in? What do you say? Hey, this is what I really love.
I like it. I really like when I can just offer some encouraging words to somebody.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times I don't feel like I have the answers that are going to. I think they may be calling for an answer, but a lot of time they just want somebody to say, "Hey, you're doing okay. You're doing okay. I'm here if you need me." But that and just the relationships with the youth ministers in our state, I will tell you that's. I'll kind of tear up on that if I talk too much about that. But that will be the thing I'll miss more than anything.
Yeah. And I've heard you say it, but your phone number's not changing, and so you're still going to get that.
I'm gonna still get 50 texts a day.
Yeah, but you love that, so that's good.
I do, and because I think we all have it just kind of it blows me away that an old guy like me have young guys that act like they kind of want to hang out with me.
That's right.
And I love to have lunch with them. I love to just hang out.
Yeah, sure. And I know that this has been repeated time and time again. Some of these listeners may not have heard it before, but I've heard it for a long time, and that is that the relationships that exist inside of Mississippi Baptist Student Ministry is unique from really any other state. And I know you said that kind of had started before you got here. But I do think that you being here has allowed it to be maintained and maybe even gotten better. So,
well, thank you. And when I came, that was the one thing that excited me because when I left, that was what I missed more than anything. Because as a student minister, I had great relationships formed through Youth Ministers Retreat, Super Summer. And when I got into this new position in a different state, I mean, I had some relationships with other people, but there was nothing that came close to that.
Yeah.
And to be able to walk back in and just kind of pick back up on that was, and I was determined we were going to keep that going.
Yeah. And you've done a great job with it.
All right, the next question is mentors. So I know sometimes that can change over our lives, but who have been your mentors in this role since you've been at MBCB?
Wow.
If
you don't
any.
have to mention us.
No, okay.
I'm not on that list.
Well, that goes without saying, John. That goes without saying. I have had several, and what's really interesting is I would consider even some younger guys than me that they probably didn't know it, but they were mentoring me.
Yeah.
I've got to say Neil Tullis.
Yeah, sure.
Because I got to come and see him be a youth minister firsthand, and I felt like he mentored me. In fact, there was many times I called him, Neil, where can I find something on this? And he was giving me. Yeah. So I just was parroting back a lot of things from him. Now he's a big time pastor, and
he is.
But I still consider him that.
Yes.
My friend Gary Permenter has always been a mentor to me.
Yeah.
Once again, all these guys are younger than I. But even as a student pastors together in Columbus, he just was somebody who was always there. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
And John, you know this especially. Gary can push you really hard. He can push you to the limit, and he was always one that was kind of been there pushing me.
Yeah.
And would just be, and he would just flat out say something that maybe, I'm too nice to say.
Yeah, but needed to be said.
And I would consider that. Dr. Richard Ross at Southwestern Seminary, although we don't spend a lot of time together, I consider all the times as a student minister coming to things that he led, reading his books. He came to my church several times and did things, and I just felt like I was drinking at a fountain when he was around, and he was so encouraging. And even Dwayne and I, a couple of years ago, actually audited his youth ministry class at Southwestern. And even over Zoom or whatever we do, video, it was just like he was there in the room and like he was talking to us. And he sent several encouraging things to us along the way. So he would probably be one of the biggest influences on me as well.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's kind of strange the way the world works. So you served at First Baptist Church Columbus, right?
Right.
But you served at First Baptist Church Columbus before Dr. Parker was the pastor at First Baptist Columbus. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was under Dr. Bobby Douglas.
Yeah. So, which was a great pastor in our state, well respected. So I'm just curious, over that little overlapping time with Dr. Parker there at Columbus, not really overlapping. It's
missed it by a year or
missed
two.
It or something.
Missed the overlap by a little bit.
Yeah, so I know you guys probably share some of the same people, and you were able to see the work that he did at First Columbus as well.
Right. It was. I would say that when I began to hear things about him, obviously because we still have a relationship with a lot of people there. And I would come back to do a wedding, and they were going, I can't wait till you to meet Sean Parker. He's the best. And so I came back and began to get to know him. I came back and did a couple of assisted with him in a couple of funerals. And I was just so taken by his charisma and just he was so laid back, yet he was so polished. And I thought he is the perfect. Not just anybody can pastor First Baptist Columbus. And they've not had that many pastors through the years.
That's right,
And there were several times that I just thought, man, I would love to serve with him. That would be fun. And I had the opportunity to go back and speak at one of their big anniversary celebrations one year and spend a little time with him. So when I heard that he was going to be the guy, I couldn't have been more excited because I thought, I'm going to get to work with Dr. Parker.
I know him.
Buddy the Elf, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know him. Yes, very good, Tanner.
I got a wheeze out of John.
Oh, I was like, what? I didn't see that one coming.
But yeah,
I didn't either. It just happened.
So I felt like Slater Murphy and I both being from Columbus. We both felt like we were kind of the in crowd. When he came, because we knew him.
That is so good. That's so good. So you've been doing it a long time. I mean, the question says from 2007 to 2024. But even your student ministry experience goes back way before that, Ken. Way before that.
Would care to guess?
But I'm curious, because today you just said, I'll still get 50 text messages after you retire. Well, in 2007, I guess we were texting, right? But it wasn't.
Yeah,
we
were just starting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were still
on our flip phone.
To hit a C, you had to hit number 1 3 times.
Right.
Yeah. So, how has those relationships and connecting to student pastors changed in your time that you've been here?
It is so much. It's so much easier to connect.
Yeah.
It is basically relied on email and the telephone. And, of course, the travels.
Yeah.
And I still rely on that. But the text made, when you begin to realize when all the youth guys, they were the first to get the iPhones.
Yeah.
And that was all they would use. They didn't answer their phone.
That's right. Didn't answer
except
emails.
Clint Jackson. He just called.
And you wish he wouldn't.
He accuses me of screening his calls. I'll look at it and go, oh, Clint, I'm going to have to call you back later. No, love you, Clint.
Yeah, we do.
But the texting really has made it. I have group texts for all different types of things, but the communication is instant and something happens crazy, or even during football games, we're all harassing each other over your team and things like that. But I think that has really, while some folks say that has distanced people, I think for us, I think it's brought us closer.
Yeah, I think on social media, some student pastors got together and wanted to form a group in the state of Mississippi, and that was the first kind of department or group of church leaders in our state to want to. What's it called? What's the group called on Facebook?
Mississippi Baptist Student Ministries.
Yeah. And so I know you joined that later on, but some guys in the state wanted to develop that. So that was different.
In fact, one of our bivocational youth pastors started that because he asked me, he said, "Do you think I could do that? And I'll give you a permission to help administrate." But it was Jordan Inman up in from Vardaman at the time.
Yeah.
And that's been fun too.
So you've said a lot about Neil Tullis, and he actually sent this question in. And it's actually a serious question. What advice would you give to pastors to help them lead their youth ministers and help their churches experience longevity with their youth ministers? Did you get that?
Yes. Read that again. I want to make
what
sure
advice would you give to pastors to help them lead their youth ministers and help their churches experience longevity in that role?
I think number one, to see themselves as a mentor to the youth minister, regardless as if they are older than you or younger. Really learn to have a listening ear. Our youth pastors have a lot to say, and I think so. And they have some really good ideas, and sometimes they just feel like they need to be heard. But I think know what's going on. For the pastor needs to know what's going on in the church, know the students. It's hard because you've got to know everybody, but just not waiting to be invited to something. Just pop in here, there, and the students see that. And for a student pastor, that helps him know not that you value me, but you value this ministry. And if folks are unhappy, or parents are coming to you as a pastor, don't just go to a student minister and say, "Hey, they're saying this about this," whatever. Take the time to talk to them. "Hey, this has been brought up."
Yeah.
Rather than just pointing it out, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I think you'll have first of all, you'll have a friend for life, and that student pastor is going to have the pastor's back as well.
Yeah.
And I think that is, and I think also really encouraging them to continue to find ways, not necessarily continue your education, but to always be learning. Ask them, "Hey, what conference are you going to this year?" Really encourage them, encourage your church to invest and to be able to send them to places where they can grow in ministry and personally. Yeah. And encourage them to be involved with other student pastors in the area at least. Yeah. They need that.
Yeah, that's good. One other question before we got to get to these final four, but I'm running out of time. But
we got all day with Ken.
Yeah,
you told me this will be unfiltered.
Yeah, going to that longevity question, and you've been here 17 years, right? Is my math right?
I'm on my 18th.
On your 18th year, and student pastors and pastors alike have this reputation of people say 18 months. That's really wrong. I mean, 2 to 3 years, probably 4 or 5 years, maybe the average. But what is there to be said about longevity in student ministry, but also just in ministry in general?
I think going into any spot, I think you've always got to go in there. I'm here for the long haul until God says otherwise.
Yeah.
I think sometimes some folks don't have that mentality going in. Well, I can go do this for 2 years and then I'll see what else is out there. But I think going in there, number one, but it just says to your church, especially to students, it says, "Hey, I'm just not in here just to fly in, do a few things, and to go on. I care about you."
Yeah.
And to be able to see a student come into the student ministry, leave the student ministry, and to go to college, maybe to come back and help serve, that you see that.
Yeah.
That investment, that's a key, I think, for students continuing on past youth ministry.
It is an amazing thing to hear a high school senior who gets handed that Bible on graduation Sunday to be able to say, he was my student pastor when I went into 7th grade.
Right.
Or 6th grade or whatever. It's a very cool thing to watch someone mature in their faith as they mature in years as well. So,
And then to see them go, but to want to come back.
absolutely. Yeah, because of that relationship.
Not that they can't let go, but that they want to come back and serve.
Well, we know that the sticky point of student ministry is relationships.
That's right.
Inside of the church.
Right,
And so
not just student ministry.
That's right. So it's a very positive thing. So other than me and Tanner, what will you miss the most about Mississippi Baptist Convention? I mean, that's an obvious.
That is an obvious one, guys. I'm going to miss just that relationship with churches.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been in so many churches. I know how to get to pretty much every one of them.
Yeah.
I have been through cow pastures to get to a church.
Yeah.
I'm just going to miss going to these new places and meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard for me because I know you can't believe this. At heart, I am an introvert.
Yeah.
And going to a place where I don't know a soul scares the fire out of me. At first, I'm afraid I'm going to say something really stupid. I know y'all can't imagine that. But going there and then leaving that place, I leave, I think, more encouraged than they do.
Yeah.
Because I love seeing what they're doing or how they receive just the littlest thing that you can give them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really going to miss that being in all of our churches.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, I'll save so last two questions. What's a funny moment in these years? But first I want to hear what's something you're proud of over this time. And I know, the question was sent in by Dwayne, actually. So what's something you're proud of? I know you've done a lot of different things. Super Summer's been big over the years, and you've adapted as things have happened. Like back 2020 was an adaptation for you.
That time you had to get on stage and tell all the kids they had to go home.
That was strange.
That's
that moment.
Is that the worst moment of your industry?
I think that would be the lowest point.
Yeah.
And it was the lowest point for a lot of students. And still today, they'll say, I go back, there's the guy that sent us home from Super Summer.
And that's when you want to say, no, here's somebody else's phone number.
Oh, that was I don't know what I'm most proud of. I think the fact that we continued the small church youth ministry workshops, that we hit 100 this year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And all the numbers of churches who have been trained through that, and that is going to continue.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I look at that, and that really excites me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I'm excited about the growth of Super Summer, not in numbers, but how that the planning team has continued to do everything to change with the times when needed.
Yeah.
But to continue to hold up that standard, that it is a leadership, that it's not just for everybody. But I've been excited just to watch these guys and gals come along and take up that mantle.
Yeah.
Because this year, I mean, I have to give a shout out to Sue McAllister, who started Super Summer and has been my assistant from the very beginning. And Sue and I are both stepping away at the same time, and it's going to be hard. Yeah. We're going to miss that.
You'll still be there.
But we're so
I know, right? Yeah.
we feel
hope you
good
don't think
about
you're
what
gonna-
we've left in there.
That's
The
right.
funniest thing,
I want to say something else before
Go
we
ahead.
get to
All right,
that,
go
because that's how we're going to end.
Yep.
So, honestly, whenever you announced your retirement, it's kind of shocking to me because
it was to me too.
okay. Because I mean, I feel like you are still on your A game. I mean, we just talked about it. Super Summer's growing. Small church youth ministry workshop is growing. The relationships are still strong. All of these markers that we would look at as, quote, success are there, and yet you announce and say, hey, it's time. And I think there's something to be said about leaving when it's time. And this is for pastors,
Right,
or convention workers, or whatever it is that your field is in. But I wonder if you could just talk about that a little bit. About people look at you and say, why is Ken leaving? Things are good.
It goes back to seminary. When I was in seminary, Dr. Phil Briggs, our youth ministry professor, I don't remember anything else he said. I love the guy. He was hilarious. But I remember one time he was talking on this, and he said, guys, it's always better to leave. Because he was talking about sometimes it's hard to you're getting called to another church and you know you're called, but you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Things are going so good, but he said it's better to leave while they're still applauding rather than pulling you off the stage. And I just had that picture of the little shepherd's crook going on, grabbing somebody by the neck and jerking them off the stage. And he's always said, you will know. Mm-hmm. And it was just like overnight. I knew. And I went and told my wife, I said, I'm shocked because I really thought I had some more years, but I believe it's time. Things are in good, and I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to miss it, but I feel good about it.
And just to be clear, you're still going to be serving.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be serving. I'm going back into the worship part and also do some discipleship at Wendell Baptist Church.
So cool thing, Ken and I got to worship together. It's been several months back now. So I was there to fill in the preach, and Ken was there to fill in the lead worship. That was fun.
Just enjoyed doing it. So.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. I know it's hard to think of just one funny moment or funny moments over the years, but I want to conclude on a funny story. If you can think of one that's clean for the podcast.
We'll see.
That will not cause a court.
No, it's student ministry.
There are so many, as you said, and I'm just going to throw this out. If there's any youth pastors, you'll understand bazooka ball several years ago on retreat. But I would say it wasn't funny at the time, but I look back at it, it is funny. I had to get up at Super Summer. We were having a difficulty with the way a lot of our girls were dressing.
Yeah.
And I had to give a little speech, just kind of encouraging them. And basically, sometimes I just say things I probably shouldn't have said. And I remember up there, and I was telling them about, that was back when the tops were the spaghetti straps and, just the very bare shoulders. And I basically got up and I finally said, basically, girls, here's the step. If you can wad it up in your hand and put it in your pocket, it's too small to wear. Well, everybody and at the time I just broke out in a sweat over it. And after I said, did I just say that?
If you can wad it up and put it in your pocket, it's too small to wear.
Wad it up in your hand and stick it in your pocket.
I think that's a good rule.
And I mean, it was. But I look back now and I said, yeah, I got up there, and I think I've said something else before, but I'm not going to say that today. But yes, there's been some moments like that, and so it's just been a lot. There's probably more laughter than anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we spend a lot. People don't realize that up here, but we all get along and have a good time together.
Well, and that's what we love, Ken Hall. The laughter, the relationships have been great. So you're going to be around.
Thank you, guys.
Around. Phone
You're coming back to work the greeter's desk, I hear.
The greeter's desk, all right. You may not get in the building.
Oh, my, that's fun, guys. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you, Ken.